Hey everyone, John Henry here from School of Trade. Today we're going to be taking a look at a relatively large wave pattern short here on gold. We're getting a possible setup here for a short at 87.8, so that is the entry that we are looking for. Now, based on the way that this is setting up, it is going to be a larger wave, so we do have to float a little bit of a larger stop initially, going up at 91. The nice thing about that is that's still better than 1-to-1, right? So regardless of that fact, we're still in an all right area to be doing that. So our entry here, 87.8. Given the type of day that we're seeing right now, I'm going to be looking to split my targets up, but they're going to be in kind of a little bit of a different scenario here. Instead of looking for major targets on the way down, I'm only looking for that first target at 84. And then I'm looking for the final target just back to the low of this move again. So the low is at 82.7, so I want to get ahead of that by a little bit. We'll go to 83. Primarily the reason behind that is if we zoom out a little bit, we can see that we're not really getting a lot of big movement. We are seeing some nice movement to the downside, but overall, this movement's relatively lackluster, especially after we've opened up in the U.S. session. The European session was actually quite nice. We had a lot of movement all over the place, great setting up on pretty much every type of setup you could get on the European session. And then after the U.S. opened up, we did nothing but just kind of fiddle around and go sideways. Now we're seeing a deeper correction, and it's just not that great in terms of overall movement. So because of that, even though we are setting up a beautiful, pretty much textbook setup for a wave pattern to the downside, just a large wave pattern, I can't really go for those big targets. It doesn't make as much sense. So our entry short here at 87.8, I'm looking for the first target coming off here at the low at 84. That's going to be a 38 tick target, and then the final target back down here at 83 even for 48 ticks. So a nice little 10 tick bump on that second portion there. Taking 2 off at 38 and 2 off at 48, that's going to give us 172 ticks on the trade. So definitely a beautiful reward if we can get this to fall lower. And again, as we see this movement go back in our direction, we will look to lock the stop in a little bit tighter. These larger wave patterns, you're never guaranteed to get the exact entry. That's almost impossible because they're so large. So floating a little bit of a larger stop in this case and then letting the market work itself out, prove to us that it wants to fall, and then locking your stop in makes significantly more sense. So that's what we're going to be doing. Our entries at 87.8. I'm looking for a price to start breaking down. If we can break underneath the BMT, start seeing price stay back underneath this level, then we'll lock our stop in above this little swing high that formed. Other than that, though, our stop will stay back at 91, and we'll give it as much time as it needs to get our targets below. All right, seeing some nice continued selling pressure here. We get that first target filled with a little bit of a run through, quite a fast little drop there. So now what we can do is we'll lock the stop to break even. And given how aggressive this move is, and because we're not looking for a very large target, instead of going just to break even +1 and giving all of this move back, I'm going to lock into the cloud and we'll stay above the BMT by a couple ticks just to, give it some room to move around, but also not to give back everything either. Not when we're up this far with this big of a move down. I don't want to give any of that back. So we got that first target filled on a nice little slap through that little swing low there. And now we're looking for a little more selling pressure down to the lows of the move. Our target's at 83, just front running the low a little bit because, again, the movement that we've been seeing since the U.S. Open has been pretty lackluster. So I'm not expecting it to go smashing through that low by any means. So taking targets a little bit early, not necessarily a bad thing. So as we continue down here, if we continue to see this very aggressive movement, you'll notice there hasn't even been a green candle. We're going to lock in a little bit tighter and continue down with this move. I'm half tempted to get it above the cloud just to get even more aggressive on the stop, because usually with this kind of move, with that much aggression, you'll see a snap back when they take profit, and that can give back a decent chunk of that, and I don't want that to happen. So locking the stop in nice and tight here, waiting for a little more follow through. Final target at 83 to lock in the last portion. All right, seeing some nice continuing bearish volume here. We had a slight little bounce from the buyers. They got their green candle, and now we're coming one tick away. Oh, I guess we don't have to move the stop anyway. It broke down. So that was the move that we were really looking for. A beautiful wave pattern short. It was a big wave, so we had to use a larger initial stop, but ended up not needing it. Sometimes we need it, sometimes we don't. In this case, it worked out perfectly all the way back down to the downside. We got our first target filled on a quick snap through, and then the second target filled after grinding its way lower. That one took a little while to get down there. Overall, though, it's 172 ticks on the trade. That's 1,720 with only 4 contracts. Beautiful setup. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.